We're with Chef Anis Nabilah here. Good morning, Chef. Thank you so much for joining us on the Light Breakfast. Selamat Hari Raya.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Selamat Raya to all.
Thank you. Now, we were just speaking before I started the recording, and you said you've been very busy cooking up a storm. Let's get to the beginning of it all. I read that you learned how to cook when you were only 10. What made you interested in cooking at such a young age?
Actually, it was younger. I think I started going into the kitchen, helping out since I was 7.
Mm-hmm.
But I started cooking on my own when I was 9. It's just because I come from a big family. I've got 7 siblings, and mom was a working mom. So, in order for her to spend time with the children and, feed us, she would have to like bring all of us into the kitchen after work. So, we were all given tasks, safe things to do in the kitchen. And I remember just, having so much fun doing it. All of my siblings can cook. All of them love and enjoy cooking and baking.
Okay.
But I was the only one. I am the only one who took it seriously. I didn't want to in the beginning.
Yeah.
I was like, nah, I'm not going to grow old in the kitchen. and I told mom, I was like, I enjoy doing it so much that I don't want to make it a job because I don't want to go through like the whole stress of it. And mom was a HR executive in a company back then. So she was like, do you know how many people hate their jobs? Do you know how fortunate you be, to have a hobby as a job? And I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of true. Okay, I'll just give it a try.
Yeah.
If I don't like it, I'm not going to pursue it.
Okay.
So I gave it a try and I fell absolutely in love with it.
But if you didn't take up culinary arts, if you didn't listen to your mom, was there another course that you were thinking of taking?
Oh yeah, I wanted to read law.
Oh.
I was interested in law. I was also interested in journalism. So, and in psychology. So those were the 3 things that I initially wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then now I'm cooking.
Now you started cooking by yourself at 9. What do you remember? Like, what was the most complicated dish that you've ever cooked up as a child? Did you cook for your entire family or just for yourself at the time?
For my family, for my younger siblings, my late grandparents. And I remember them just eating it, although it didn't turn out the way it's supposed to be. I mean, because back then there wasn't any internet, and I would have to like dig through my mom's old recipe books. But what I normally do is just call her at the office and just ask her like, how do I do this and blah blah blah, and she would just give me instruction over the phone, and I'll try it.
Mm-hmm.
Half of the time I'll fail, but I mean it's edible, but it's not like it's not the best.
Okay.
I think one of the hardest was a pie. I remember baking a pie. I love making pies back then, but I remember the first few trials, it was bad because I didn't know how to make pastry, and it's very technical. And I was just like chucking everything, so it was really hard in the beginning. Like the pastry turned out like leather. And I remember my late grandparents, they had some, and they were like, it's good, but they were really struggling to chew. God bless them.
What was the reward when you were younger to be able to put out a dish and then have your family eat it?
There was no reward. There was no actual reward. I was happy with just compliments and constructive criticism. But it did help me to get out of trouble because I was a very rebellious teenager growing up. And I get in trouble all the time with my parents. I'm grounded all the time, and to make them happy, or to get out of being grounded, I'll cook them something, and then they're like,
Mm.
"Oh, it's so nice. Oh, you're so good. You're no longer grounded."
Any disaster stories? Did you ever like accidentally burn down the kitchen or anything?
Actually, when I was a kid, no. But recently, I almost burned down my mom's
Really?
twice. Yes, which is ridiculous. It's only because I'm like trying to cook, and then like someone's calling me, and I'm juggling things, and I'm forgetful now, and then I left the stove on for a really long time, twice in the last year. I know. I'm like, I should be banned in my mother's kitchen.
But I mean, okay, going from a home cook, like a home cook, to a trained chef, like getting your diploma in culinary arts, did it change the way you cook?
100%. So I thought that, being able to cook, having had a little bit of knowledge of cooking from home, would have helped me when I went to the Culinary Institute. But it was actually harder for me, I felt, because I was already so used to a certain way, like certain techniques. And, I learned from my late grandmother and my mom, and it's, they've got the housewife skills. There's no actual technique of how to hold a knife or how to, look after your fingers and stuff. It's just like, just get the job done.
Yeah.
So in terms of speed, I had it because I had to get the job done. But in terms of, looking after the tip of my fingers, I did not have that. So when I went to my culinary school, I remember just having to reset everything, like completely, ditch whatever I know and having to learn everything from scratch. And when you're so used to, like, when you use your hands and stuff, you're so used to certain types of movements. It's really hard for you to just change it. So I remember taking a longer time than my classmates to get the technique right.
Maybe because they don't have that basic, didn't have
muscle memory.
Yeah, they didn't have that basic that you had. So
Yeah.
so it would have been easier for them to start from zero, right?
Exactly.
So not long after you graduated with your diploma in culinary arts, you actually landed your first TV cooking show, and you were only 21 years old then. Tell us about that experience. Like, what made you go for that audition, and what happened?
Well, when I didn't think I was going to be on TV, but I remember when I went to my culinary school, when I enrolled, and you have to go through like those orientation day.
Yeah.
And everyone just looked at me and said, "What are you doing here? Like, you shouldn't be here. It's really tough. It's a tough line to be in for women. And you're so small." And
Fun sized.
yeah, fun size, pocket
No,
size.
you should tell them I'm chili padi, see? I pack a punch.
Well, I mean, I don't really pay attention to those kind of comments. I'm like, I'll just do it and I'll just show you. I have that kind of attitude. And then they were like, "You should just do TV." And I was like, "Yeah, I might one day." And I went to, after graduating, I was doing part-time at LITE in Kuala Lumpur. And I remember having so much fun there because, the day goes by without even realizing it. All you do is just chopping and dicing and cooking and serving people. It was so much
And that was fun for you?
so much fun. That was so much fun because there was it wasn't like, it's not like an office job, where it's more, it's like, for me, I was learning something new every single day. And there's like thousands of different types of cheeses, for instance, hundreds of different types of apples, and you're just learning this every single day, which you will never be able to learn in a book or anywhere else. It's really through experience, seeing it, feeling it, touching it, smelling it. So I remember just really enjoying myself. And after that, my old college called me and said, they're doing an audition for girls. They want like a female chef or an upcoming chef, or an apprentice chef. And then they were like, you should really come. And then I said, okay, yeah, sure, I'll try it. So I remember going, and I was the first one to do the screen test. And back then, and it was with a local TV channel.
Yep.
And back then, when you're on a local TV channel, you have to speak Malay.
Yeah.
And it's not like the Malay Roja, it's like proper Malay. And they were telling me, like, you have to speak Malay. And I can speak Malay, obviously, but, I'm a Malay Roja lah.
Yeah.
And I remember being super nervous. I was like, oh my God, how do I do this? And they're like, introduce yourself. So I was like, nama saya is Nabilah, blah, blah, blah. And then halfway through, I just started speaking in English without even realizing it. I was like, oh no. And they were like, Malay, like, whispering to me. And then I just continued, my instinct sort of kicked in, and then I just continued the rest of the audition with a Penang accent. Because I speak with my grandparents in Malay with Penang accent a lot, because they live.
Yeah.
So I was like, everything in a Penang accent, and I was like, oh my God, this is so weird. But that was the only way I could do it fluently.
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh, that was weird, from English to like a complete Penang accent. And then they said to me, they're like, okay, after the audition, they're like, okay, you get to go to the second audition. And the people who did the audition were like really big TV people. Like, I grew up watching them. So it was very intimidating and scary. And then they said, yeah, you get to go to the second audition. I was like, yay, okay, great. And then I didn't hear from them for like almost 2 months.
Wow.
And
okay.
They called me and they were like, you don't have to come for the second audition. We've chosen you. And I was like, what? So I remember my first TV show. It was crazy. It was completely different to any of the cooking shows back then in Malaysia, because I'm young, I'm a girl, and there was no like ingredients spread in bowls. It was just like I had to do all the cutting and chopping and dicing. Everything was on screen. I cooked in one of the episodes. I cooked on a boat, on a sampan at the Sarawak River.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I can't believe I did that. Like, all the cameras were, and back then the cameras were like this big.
Yeah.
And they all had to fit that onto the boat. And it was crazy. And that show ended up being the first show to ever been bought by an international TV station. So, and after that, everything just sort of, happened.
So during the audition, that was the first time you've ever had to sort of present while you're cooking, right? And now and I mean, I've tried it before at events, and it's not easy to speak and explain while you cook. So how did you change your mindset to just cooking and then to present as well?
I had a lot of practice in my kitchen. Like, I berangan a lot in my kitchen with my sisters. So when I'm making something, when I'm teaching them something, instead of going, now you add this, now you add that, watch me do this, I'd be like, okay, ladies and gentlemen. The perks of having lots of siblings. So yeah, and I just pretended like, the cameras aren't there. There was no one else. I just pretended like I was cooking for my sisters. Yeah.
That's nice. So you pretend that all your sisters are sitting there and then you're teaching them how to cook.
Yeah.
But have you ever thought of like, I know you say experience counts more, but have you ever thought of furthering your studies in the culinary art, you know, as a chef? Do
Oh,
you think it's
definitely.
more important to have experience or to have proper technique? And
Well, I think in terms of techniques, you know, as you can see, like now, it's the industry's changed so much. Like you get some of the best chefs who are home cooks.
Mm.
You know, funny you mentioned this. I was just thinking about it this morning. Like for instance, you know, there's a big award called by the James Beard Foundation, and James Beard, who is a chef, he was self-taught, self-trained,
Mm.
and imagine that, like from you know not knowing anything to just learning on your own to developing all sorts of skills to until having a foundation named after you and awards named after you, and it's one of the most prestigious culinary awards in the world. So I wanted to back then. Like back then, there was no degree in culinary arts available in Malaysia. And I started working at a very young age. And, you know, after I started working, everything, it just sort of grew from there. So did not, I was not able to find a time where I could just like leave Malaysia and, you know, travel and study. And of course, you know, coming from a big family as well and having so many younger sisters, younger siblings, my parents had to prioritize their educations as well. So if I wanted to further my studies, I had to do it on my own. So I had to work first.
Mm.
And then that was the plan, like work and, you know, collect money. And the reason why I wanted to further my studies was just so that I had more options. Like I can be a lecturer if I wanted to. But that didn't happen because, you know, I just started doing TV shows. I started traveling. But in all honesty, like I believe that in this particular line, even if you don't have a degree, if you don't have any intention of, you know, becoming a lecturer, teaching students, you don't necessarily need the degree because, you know, most you can get your knowledge from reading.
Mm.
And there's lots and lots of books now, you know, that sort of challenges the traditional culinary what do you call that syllabus, because you know it's a growing industry. It's not like, yes, you have like what I studied classical French, and you know even if I do my degree, it's going to be in, you know, classical French. And yes, of course, there are all these techniques that you learn, but you can do that just by reading books and practicing on your own. But there are new ways of cooking now. There are new ways of producing food now. Like right now, the trend is going into fermentation.
Fermentation. Okay.
So, yeah, so eating anything that's fermented, like how do you ferment things? Because, you know, by eating fermented things, you are actually giving your body like all the natural bacteria that you need. That before this we don't know, but this method has been around for thousands of years. But you know, only chefs like the new age chefs are researching on it and are doing papers on it, and you don't get that if you go to universities. They don't necessarily teach you that, you know, because it's still something new.
Yeah.
So to me, if you want more knowledge, if you want to teach people, like I do teach people. I teach people on TV.
Yeah.
So, and I need to constantly have knowledge, like have the updated knowledge on culinary. So I have to keep on reading, and I have to keep on doing my research. I have to keep on testing out recipes, and I've been doing that over the last few years. And traveling helps as well, because when you travel, that's when you learn, food cultures from different countries. And when you have that, that's another valuable knowledge to have, which you will not get by, having a degree or whatever.
Yeah. So that's more like the experience of cooking and the gaining your own knowledge is more important for a chef, in your opinion.
In my opinion, yes.
Yeah.
But I also feel like, some people, they feel like they need a degree in it because of the technicalities. Like, and when you do degree in culinary arts, it's also a lot more on like the serving side, and then the food safety side. So yes, if you're running an establishment and you want, to give your customers the best of that, like learning about wine pairing, for instance, by all means, go and do. I mean, an extra certificate is always great for you.
Speaking about establishment, most chefs, they dream of owning their own restaurant.
Yeah.
What is your culinary dream, Chef Anis?
I want to open a culinary institute,
Hmm.
and I want it to be different to like what we have now. I want it to be fun. I want to be able to teach Asian cuisine, like the traditional ones, the new age ones, because I feel like, when it comes to Asian cuisine, like here in Malaysia, like if you go to any culinary institute, they don't really teach you so much about it, because it's more focused on like French and anything Western, basically. So to learn Asian cuisine, like you have to basically do it on your own, or learn it from your parents. And it's sad because it is such an amazing cuisine. It's just that it was never taught or broken down the way French cuisine is. You see, there's a lot of important techniques that if you don't know, you'll fail.
Correct.
But people don't realize that. Like Asians don't realize that, because we grew up doing it. We know how to do it. We know how to saute chilies the right way. If you tell someone who don't know how to deal with like dried chilies or chilies, and and you just say, oh, saute until it's fragrant, or saute until you see the oil splits from the chili, like they won't understand it if they've got no experience of it. So there's a lot of all this like technical stuff that I feel like they're not taught the right way. And so people do not have an actual understanding. So because you think, oh, it's so easy to make, you don't respect it so much. I mean, you enjoy having it, like you love it. Like Malaysians, we love our food. Don't say anything bad about our food. We will fight you. But we don't look at it the way we would look at French cuisine,
correct,
Italian cuisine. We don't.
So you're gonna formalize it.
Yes, because because it's available everywhere. It's cheap. We grew up having it, so we don't
think of it as a complex kind of cuisine because we've had it all the time. Yeah,
exactly. And we don't give it the respect it deserves. So I feel like if I were to start my culinary institute, it's all about researching, on local cuisine and learning the history of local cuisine. I mean, we've got so many amazing stories, but we only listen to the stories when Gordon Ramsay talks about it. And it's sad because it is our history, it is our culture, and we should be the ones celebrating it. Be proud of it every single day. If we don't understand it, we learn. And there are very, very few books on the history of Malaysian cuisine. And And that book isn't even accessible to everyone.
You
So
should
we need,
write one.
yeah, I need a research team. I need,
You need time, man.
it's in the plans. It's
Yes.
something that I really want to do.
I love your dream, actually. Yeah, like most chefs, they would want to own their own restaurant, but you want to be able to teach more chefs.
Yeah, we have to make sure, we have to protect the legacy, basically, and the history. Because if we don't, who's going to? I mean, it's so crazy. Like, over the last few years, I traveled in Malaysia. I've gone to all the states in Malaysia and, talked to the local people, some of the people who are like tukang masak kampung. These are the people who preserve some of the recipes. And then they talk about hearts of palm, which, it's such a common thing for them to have. It's basically hearts of palm is the top part of a coconut tree.
Mm-hmm.
So it's underneath the leaves and it's white in color. It's like this big. So basically you can only get one hearts of palm from one coconut tree. And you have to chop off the tree in order to get the hearts of palm. But you only do that when there's a tree that's dying and it's unable to fruit anymore. So that's when you chop it off for you to get the hearts of palm. So instead of just letting it rot, you still take that. So this hearts of palm, they do it in like karabu, and it's basically, it tastes like coconut. It's white in color. It tastes like coconut. It's as sweet as coconut flesh, but it's crunchy. And then a couple of years ago, you see like Alex Atala, one of the top chefs, like top 10 chefs in the world. He served hearts of palm as linguine.
Okay.
He made like linguine, but he uses hearts of palm. And then all the rave started, hearts of palm, and we have this in our backyard, and we don't know. Like 90% of Malaysians don't even know of it. So those kind of stuff that we need to focus on, that we need to try and work towards, like spreading the knowledge on our cuisine, because it's so much more than nasi lemak and roti canai and all of that stuff.
Okay.
Crispy
Now, Anis,
rendang.
yeah, crispy rendang. Now, Anis, let's talk about Raya in CMCO time. How was it for you and your family?
I thought it was going to be relaxed, but it wasn't. It was crazy. Well, I normally have, on the first day of Raya, we normally receive about 200 over guests.
Okay.
And these are like relatives and neighbors and friends, and they would just come. Like there's no open house, or there's no actual invitation. They
just show up.
It's a tradition,
Okay.
They'll just show up at our place. So I'm so used to like not really celebrating the first day of Raya, because I'll just be in the kitchen and I'll be cooking for like 200 over people all day long. So this year, of course, there's none of that. But my immediate family, as in my siblings and my in-laws and my nephews and nieces and my parents, us in total was about 21. There's 21 of us. Yeah, I know, big family. So it was just us, but it was still crazy, because I think we're so used to like, having that busy Raya that we cannot really like not have that Raya. So it was still like lots of food, but for us, lots of cookies for us.
Do you cook every Raya? Do you take a day off?
I do. I have been cooking every Raya except for this Raya. I did not go into the kitchen at all this Raya.
Oh, wow.
No, it's crazy. I was surprised. I was like, wow, I didn't make anything. I didn't bake cookies. I mean, I was baking because I did like a whole fundraising thing for an NGO I support. And, I was doing a lot of baking, and I was doing a lot of cooking for content, because for clients and stuff. So I've been doing that for like more than a month. I'm literally cooking, and recording myself. That on Raya Day, I was just like, no, I'm gonna take the day off. So I did, and it was wonderful.
So
But then
who cooked? Who cooked?
not staying in the kitchen. My mom and some of my sisters. But not staying in the kitchen meant I had all the time to be in front and look after the children. So that was different kind of tired altogether.
But what is your favorite Raya dish to eat?
My favorite Raya dish to eat.
Yeah, to eat.
Rendang.
Definitely rendang.
Mom makes the best rendang in the world. I'm not even kidding you.
Beef or chicken?
Beef. But it's like she's got. I think I got this one. I got from my mother. So she's a self-taught cook.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't like follow the rules. It's not like, oh, this is how much you have to put, this is what you have to do. No, she's just like, I'm just gonna feel it, and, let my body
Instincts.
and do the work. And it is the best type of rendang in the world. It takes about 24 hours to make.
Wow.
So we have
What's different about your mom's rendang? Is there anything different that she uses? Is there a secret ingredient?
The same type of ingredients. It's just the amount of ingredients that she uses. So it's more of like, quite honestly, I try to replicate her rendang. I can't. And I don't know why. And I'm a chef and it's crazy. And sometimes I'm the one who does the cooking. So she just tells me what to do. But when I do it on my own, it just won't be like hers. So she
also,
does.
If she tells you what to do when you're cooking her rendang, then it will taste like her rendang.
When she's next to me, yes. I know. It's just crazy. When I do it, it won't be exactly like it. It's really instinct, I would say. And also because I feel like, half part of me just don't really want to get it right. So that I can enjoy her rendang.
That's filled with a mother's love.
Yes, she does do it like, her rule is, if, she does a chicken or a beef, it's the same amount as the coconut milk. So if it's like 5 kilos of beef, that it should be 5 kilos of freshly squeezed coconut milk. So that's a great tip. Yeah.
Okay. Now, what advice would you give to people though who are like disasters in the kitchen and they really think that, I cannot be in the kitchen at all because everything I cook just comes out burnt or tasteless?
I think you should try to get rid of the fear. I think that happens because you're scared. Like, I get scared trying things I don't know. When I'm experimenting on something that I'm not used to, I get scared. And when I get scared, things will just go wrong. I think it's more of, I honestly believe everyone can cook. It's just, you just have to, get out of your head, not overthink it. And if you make mistake, it's okay because you're meant to learn from it. That's when I shouldn't have done this. That's how everyone learns. Like, how do you think, such a complicated recipe like rendang existed? If it's not through trial and errors, if it's not through, let's just see what it would taste like if I put this thing that I just plucked out of the ground, like galangal and turmeric. Let's just see what happens when I throw this one in. It's all about using your instinct. It's more that than anything else. So it's instinct and your senses. So it's not just your taste, it's the smell. It's like I can cook. Like, I cook in the month of Ramadan, like the entire month of Ramadan, and I can a good dish with enough salt, enough flavor profile just by smelling it. But that is training. Like you gotta train your senses to do it. So every time I cook, or even before I cook, I will smell things. When I'm creating a dish, it's that, you know, and you have that muscle memory and like, you know, like the memory, like the taste memory as well. It's like how I develop new recipes. Like I can just write it down before testing it because I know what goes well with what. And that is because of the senses that I've trained. So I've got this, okay, so this one smells good with this one. So it will be great if I add this one into this one. And that's how you do it. So you need to just don't overthink it and let your senses and your instinct work.
Well, some people just have better senses and instinct, I
No,
think.
it's all, I believe that you train it. You train it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I did not have such a great like taste buds back then because I think I sort of killed most of my taste buds. I had a tongue piercing when I was a teenager, and that definitely affected my taste buds. But I trained it. Like over the last few years, I had to, like, you know, I had to. So it's just like everything else. It's like you working out, you know, you train your muscle. It's that as well. It's the same thing. So you just have to keep on training it. Like when you taste something, so instead of eating it, like, okay, what normal people would do, they taste something, oh, this is delicious. And then you wallop the whole thing because it's delicious. But what most chefs does is they'll taste it and they'll break it down. What do I taste? Okay, there's a little bit of sourness. Where does the sour taste comes from? Is it lime? Is it lemon? Is it tamarind? Is it, you know, tomatoes? So you do that. So when you do that, all you need is like the first sip, give it 5 minutes. Taste it like you would if you drink wine, like you would, you know, a glass of wine. It's the same thing.
So you just, if you fail, just have to try and try and try again.
Exactly, yes.
Okay. Now, lastly, Anis, what is your message to Malaysians this Raya, to all your followers on social media?
I think, okay, it's going to be a serious message. I think we should all still stay home if we don't have any businesses outside. If it's not important for us to leave our homes, just stay home because we're not 100% safe yet. And even if we feel like, you know, we won't get it, you know, we won't be exposed to it, just remember that we might be the carriers, or, you know, and it's not fun to know that, you know, you might be spreading it to other people. So I think we all should just do our parts, listen to the government, you know, and do what we're supposed to do, because it's really scary. Like I only ever go out for groceries or to visit my parents, and because they live 5 minutes away, and they're most of the time they're just on their own. So I don't go anywhere else. And I go, even when I go to the grocery store, you know, I don't like it. It feels like, you know, entering a war zone. And I used to really enjoy grocery shopping, you know, it's my thing. But now I'm scared because I don't really want to expose myself to anything, because I don't want to be carrying anything and, you know, risk what's the word for it?
Transmitting
Transmitting it to my parents, who are high risk people. And we need to do our parts. If it's not necessary to go out, don't. I mean, even if you feel like you're craving something from a restaurant, do takeouts. You know, like, yes, it's important for us to help the economy, but we don't have to go out and like dine with our friends. I don't think it's the right time yet. And it's scary to see that, you know, people are out like it's nothing now. So hopefully, you know, we as a nation, we will be able to just hang in there a little while more, stay at home, cook. If you're bored, pick up a new hobby, watch documentaries. There's so many good ones out there. Yeah, stay at home.
And watch Anis Nabilah cooking shows.
Exactly. Watch me on my Instagram. I did.
Yes. I
my-
have been. I'm going to try your mac and cheese recipe soon. Looks so good.
Yay! Thank you. I did. The recent one I did was roti canai, and I think that one got quite it was a hit. I
Uh-huh.
think because people think that roti canai is really hard to do.
Isn't it? No? Easy?
No,
I've tried it.
It's
Yeah.
the dal. I think it's the dal that's difficult to do.
what?
It's the dal that you eat with your roti canai that's difficult to
It's
do.
not difficult.
No?
No, I'll do a video soon.